welcome to the PeakDay podcast, where we talk about fertility and natural family planning with our friends. Today's guests are Sean and Grace Kaiser. Sean and Grace met in their junior year of high school. Grace was homeschooled and Sean went to public school. They were engaged on Christmas Eve of 2021 after midnight mass and were then introduced to natural family planning during their marriage prep program. They were married on October 1st, 2022. Sean and Grace just had their first child, a baby girl, in August. Grace is a senior at Purdue studying hospitality and tourism management and is a stay at home mom. And Sean works full time in HVAC. Thank you, Sean and Grace, for being on the PeakDay podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Can you just tell us a little bit about how you met?
Yeah, so we met through a mutual friend, through a church retreat, actually. And then she kind of set us up, and then, the rest is history.
Yeah, it was kind of a blind date. We went to Monaco's Pizza and then to Target, which is very romantic, but it worked out.
So during your engagement, you took an NFP class. Had you heard about natural family planning before, or was that the first time that you had learned about it?
I had heard about it like pretty well growing up. Like it was definitely talked about a lot. And then he had kind of briefly heard it, but it wasn't talked about a whole lot in his family or anything. So it was pretty new for him, but kind of more of a review for me.
So, Sean, how did learning about Grace's fertility and her, basic biology change your view of marriage and the marital act in general?
Definitely made it feel more sacred and special, um, rather than just like us coming together as one. We had to plan it out, make it special, and now we have Ada.
So, Grace, you grew up knowing about natural family planning. It was discussed in your family, but did you learn anything new about yourself, your body, your fertility taking the class?
I always like tracked my cycle and everything, but I had never learned how to like tell the signs of ovulation and everything. I was just kind of went by like a day that an app told me that it was. So it was definitely good to learn how to know exactly when you're ovulating and things like that.
You guys have been practicing NFP for a few years now. Um, has your opinion about it changed at all or grown, or what would you say? How's it been?
Yeah, I think it's definitely like learning about it was kind of overwhelming. It felt like a lot of new information and seemed like it would be hard to implement on at first in daily life. But I think once we just started getting started and doing that, and we even kind of started tracking my cycle during engagement, just practicing and things like that. So I think that it has gotten a lot easier and definitely just feels natural now. So.
Can you make any connection between like learning natural family planning with maybe a change in how you see each other? Like, as a child of God, not as an object to be used, that kind of thing?
I think it's definitely just like it helps you realize that like it's a sacred act and it's something to be honored, and by like not using contraception we realize that like it leaves room for God's design, and even if you're perfectly practicing NFP, I think things obviously can still happen and it's his will. So I think it makes it more special in that regard that we never take each other for granted or anything like that. So
What would you say are the challenges of practicing NFP as a newly married couple?
probably just like I guess the obvious of like
Yeah.
being able to abstain in certain periods and things. So
Are you guys able to share your story about, taking natural family planning and using that as opposed to, using contraceptives, which, so many couples do? Are you able to share that with other couples? And what are their responses, maybe?
yeah, I think we've talked to a few people about it, and sometimes it's met with interest, and sometimes it's just kind of like, oh well, that doesn't really work, and things like that. So I think it's kind of, it's a sensitive topic for some people because we know some people who are Catholic and still choose to not practice NFP, but so yeah, it's definitely a hard topic to have.
So, do you have support with like family and other NFP users or mentors to help you kind of stay on the course or answer questions?
Yeah, our NFP teacher actually, we have a close connection with her, so it's nice to be able to we could reach out to her anytime we needed. So, and we also know another couple who also is pregnant with their second baby, but they're close to our age, so they also are practicing. So it's nice to kind of bounce back information or share charts and things like that. To
So, would you say that knowing and learning and actually using natural family planning, do you feel like it has helped you like with communication and talking with each other, and and being open about pretty sensitive subjects like fertility and planning a family?
definitely, yeah, I think it would be with that before taking an NFP class. I think it would be pretty awkward or kind of uncomfortable to kind of bring up or discuss, and but being willing and talking about it open in the class and that kind of setting with other couples and everything helped us individually too to be able to just kind of casually, more naturally talk about things like that.
Yeah.
So
Would you say that maybe your spiritual lives have benefited from, practicing natural family planning?
yeah, I think it's just definitely like helped us to just kind of like connect better and like realize like what the marital act is for and everything, and not just do it, but to do it with intention and everything, and to like realize like what a great gift it is and everything.
Hmm. I would also say it helps me understand, her more. So, um, I look at her and I think of my religion, my Catholic faith, and how much I love both of them. So knowing everything that's going on with her and being in the know, I would say it definitely helps my spiritual life.
Sean, I know you're not from a family of 14, but even five is considered a big family.
Yeah, and I'm an uncle of 9 as well. So I thought my family was big, and then I met her, and so I mean I've always been around a big family, so I've having a small family was never really even a thought to me growing up. It was always wanting a big family. So
So, what would you tell other couples who are maybe going through marriage prep or engaged? Would you encourage them to, take a natural family planning class?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely extremely helpful and like something that we would definitely encourage all Catholic married couples to practice, and I think the church obviously does too. So
mm,
it's definitely helpful and beneficial to take a class just to know what you're doing and kind of start out being prepared instead of getting down the road and realizing you want to like go back and learn it. I think it's best to have learned it during engagement before you even get married. So
mm.
Anything to add to that, Sean?
Definitely grows you closer to your partner. Um, just having something that you can both practice and bond and talk about and bond over. It's really been helpful for us. So I would definitely recommend it.
Practicing NFP as a couple, has that impacted your mental wellness at all as as individuals and as a couple?
In our marriage, just knowing where each other's heads are at, what we're thinking, me knowing where she's at in her cycle, and because I can't imagine where we'd be without that, um, and just like not really knowing what she's going through, and her knowing that I don't know what's going on would drive her nuts. I know it would. So definitely in the mental aspect, it's been very important for us.
yeah, I think him kind of knowing like where my hormones are the most like out of control in each part of the cycle too is helpful. Like knowing how that affects me.
That is very valuable, Sean. You're so right. Knowing where somebody's coming from and the reasons why just helps you kind of get through things and accept things, and you can you know exactly where she's coming from. So that's an excellent point. I love that. Thank you. Thank you, Grace and Sean, for being on the Peak Day podcast.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
for
us.
having us.